Hi everyone, I'm Rosina Plain, and today I want to take you through a different way of doing a kind of like an envelope board. I'm calling it a pocket edging, for if you're doing something like a scarf or a wrap where you've worked your overlay mosaic in the sort of narrow rows. You're going to have all these edges, the loose ends to tidy up. And a normal double border can be quite bulky for a scarf, so this is a way of covering up your loose ends but keeping that edging to a minimum. Okay, so if you're familiar with the way I would usually do an envelope border, you'll know that I would normally say we pick up stitches by working a front post or raised treble or double crochet, but a raised front post stitch around here, so it's like between the second and third stitches in from the edge. I would normally do that to pick it up, and that gives that sort of like a raised frame effect, which looks great on a blanket, but it's, like I said, is a little bit bulky for something like a scarf. So what we're going to do now is, instead of working effectively around the post, if you can see, we're going to actually work to one of these loops of the stitch. So we've only been working in the front or back loop of the stitches when we do overlay mosaic anyway, so it's the equivalent of that. It's just, say, it's going to give us a lighter effect. So as you can see, I've got the 2 edge stitches, which is pretty standard for my patterns. If I was doing this around a blanket, I would probably work into this loop here. So it'd be the same on every stitch. So this bottom loop of the second stitch, keep it nice and close to where the pattern is. However, because I'm doing a scarf, I actually want to make the width of my edging as narrow as I possibly can. I'm going to move that a little closer to the end. So this would also be the same if you were working a pattern where there was only 1 edge stitch. You would do it the same way. So this time, instead of working into here, we're going to be working into this loop here. So you can see you've got your end stitches like a V. I'm going to just do the one, not the one nearest the end, just come in one little bit. So this horizontal, there'll be a horizontal bar at the bottom there of our edge stitch. Okay, so it wouldn't really matter which loop you chose, as long as you kept it the same for every single stitch. So I say we're going to be using that one, so that will go there, and now we need to come to the end. So where we're going to start, I'm just gonna, so this is actually the top end, so the last row that I did on my scarf, and I actually did an extra row where I worked on the wrong side. So you can see that was actually the front of the stitches, but I'm now on the front of my scarf, and this is like the wrong side of these stitches. So because of that, I can actually, just to make the edge a little bit more secure, I'm going to go under this third loop there as well. But if you're working at the other end where you've only got the one loop, like you're at the front, you just pick up the one. Okay, so we'll start, put my needle down and start with a standing treble. Okay, so as usual, you can put a slip knot on there. I don't generally, because I find that leaves a smoother edge when you join it at the end. Okay, so what we're now going to do, we're on the right side of our piece of work, and we're going to go into this edge stitch there. And like I said, because this is actually a wrong side effectively row, I'm going to just pick up that third loop too. So hold the end and complete our treble. Okay, so now what we need to do, as I said, is we're going to be picking up these loops here. So we're going to insert our hook like so, work our treble. So it's the same on the next row, this bottom horizontal loop there. So just, whoops, there we go. So just do that all the way along the edge. So you're picking up, it's always the same. It's always, when you look at the very last edge stitch, which is like that V, it's this bottom loop there for it. Oh, except we're doing a treble. Okay. Pick in there. Okay, so you can see this gives a nice neat little edge there. So I'll just do a couple more. This is a slightly unusual pattern in that it is more about the texture than it is about the colour. So you'll see now we've now got, actually this one got a section that's all one colour, so actually that will be a good way. I'm going to do a few more stitches there. It'll be a good way of showing you just how nice and neat this edge is. You'll see the contrast better. So we're still carrying on, making sure we don't miss any of these stitches. Okay, so if you get lost, you can just like pull out the end and you can see there's that last stitch. Make sure you insert your hook into that bottom horizontal loop there. Or if you're picking a different part of a stitch to do, then you can just make sure you always use the same part of the stitch for every row. Okay, one more. It's in there. Okay, you'll probably also notice that I've actually cut my ends a little shorter than I normally do. And that's again because we want to keep this edging as narrow as possible. In fact, this is how wide it's going to be effectively. We're now going to do all the way along here on the right hand side, on the right side, until we get to the end of the row, and then we literally turn it over and we'll come all the way back again. And this time when we come back, it's like pick another loop. So you can see where we can sort of, I don't know if you can see there where I've been working into before, so we need to pick a loop close to that. So for me, I'm thinking I will probably work into that loop when I come back. Okay, so that is still like in from the end. So we'll do that all the way back, and then we can just join them all together with a row of double crochets or even slip stitches if you want. I like the finish with a double crochet. Okay, so you carry on and complete this edge, and I will come back when we get to the end of this first row, and then we'll start off the return row together. Okay, so I've now got to the end of the other end of my scarf, so I've just got now a couple more stitches to do on the right side here. So as before, I'm just going to work the second from last treble into that loop, and I'm going to finish off this row by working into, it's like this. If you look at the edge there, you can see we've got, you can see the chain. So this is where the starting edge where I actually started with a row of chains and worked my double crochets into the back bumps. So that's now left me 2 loops at the bottom to work with. So I'm going to work my last treble into this side of that. Now we just turn it over and work the first treble of the next side into the other loop there. So you can see I've gone that way. So this here is that other loop from the starting chain. And now what we're going to do, we are just going to carry on and work our trebles into one of the loops again. So I can say, to make sure you get the same number of stitches, you can see where that one is, and there's, can you see here, there's this kind of horizontal line there. So I'm going to work into there, into that position on the stitches, all the way up this side. Okay, so you can see there's a stitch there, and there's a horizontal line right there. Okay, so this is it. It's again, it's that edge stitch. So the bottom loop on that very edge stitch. Okay. So just carry on along the edge like so. Okay. And I'll see you when you get to the other end again. Okay, so I'm now almost to the end of the wrong side, so the sort of second side of our little round of trebles here. Just before I get to the end, I'm going to take the hook out there. And what I probably should have done is actually started with a slip knot on my hook there, because that would have then made this a bit more secure, because I kind of forgot. Did what I normally do when I start with a standing treble like so. So what I'm going to do before I get any further is just tidy up this end. So just weave that in, bring it down to just, if you see we've got this little bit in here that we're not, I'm just going to go down to that and then just wrap it around here a few times just to tidy up. So it's now between the two sort of borders that we've got there. So, and then just go back the other way a bit. Okay, so that's now made that nice and secure. I'll just trim a little bit more of that off there. Okay, so now I've done that, like I said, I've now got 2 stitches left, and to check how many stitches you've got left, because we're working in alternate colours, you should be able to see I have now worked, the last stitch I've done currently is into this bottom, or last, but whatever, the bottom red row there. You can just see it's worked into that red loop, and if we just turn it over, you should be able to see that this stitch here was worked into the red loop as well. Okay, and there's 2 stitches after that. Okay, so what we're now going to do, finish off a round, is just pick up those last 2, make those last 2 trebles there into one. And the last one, if you remember, I said went right when we started, because I started it in like one of the loops of this first chain there. We're just going to make sure we do the other one in the other loop. So there we are. I've now completed our 2 very, very narrow little borders there. We've just got to join them together. So what we're going to do, turn around. So we're now working on the right side again. Just simply going to work double crochet. So we'll pick, I'm working to that first stitch there on the front and the one I've just done on the back. Yeah, so we're going to join those 2 together with a double crochet. I'm just going to carry on along like so. So you see, so just pick up front 2 loops, back 2 loops, and work your double crochet through that. Just tuck in these little ends as you go along. Okay, so front, back, oops, front, back, and that just seals that up and tucks all those little ends inside. Back one, join it together, front, back, joined it together. So there we go. So just carry on along like so all the way down the end. So then when you've done this edge of the blanket or scarf, whatever you're making, you can just turn around and do the other edge. So it's not a full border, we're still leaving the top and the bottom free. And what I'm going to do, because this is a scarf, I'll probably just add some fringing along the bottom. So I know it seems a little bit odd to be covering up all the ends here and then adding some new ones here, but that was to get all the patterns in on this particular design. Quite often you'll find that if I'm doing a scarf or a wrap, I'll actually work long ways. So I'll start with like 250 stitches or something to make it really wide, but only do maybe 30 or 40 rows to keep it like so, and that way you can actually use these ends for your fringe and you don't need to worry about the edging. But if you've done it this way around, I think you'll agree that is about as narrow and neat as you are going to get your edging. What I will do, I'll come back when I get to the other end again, because you will just have to, you'll find that these little ends, you may just have to just push them in with like the end of a metal hook or something. Okay, so I'm now almost at the end of my joining row, and just wanted to show you what I was talking about with the loose ends. So when you get to the end there, it's kind of difficult to poke them that way. So what I've just got a metal crochet hook. So it's got obviously a sort of smooth end, but it's quite sort of, it's a nice blunt end, which will just, whoops, should just help me. Ooh. Or maybe not. There we go. To just push them down. Push them in there. So check at the back, make sure we haven't made them stick out the back, and we haven't. So now I can just finish off my joining row. So through both sets of loops. Oh, there we are. Poke that in again. One, and then that one. Oh, this is the trouble when you get to the end. You just start to pick up, if you're not careful, those little ends. We'll try pushing them that way a bit. There we go. I think we're around the way now. Then that one, and then the very last one, which is a bit fiddly. Let's just pick up these last two stitches there, and also try to show you without getting my finger in the way, the back as well. Lovely. So ooh, get out. So there's that now finished. Cut off the end, pull it through, and then we can just weave that one in, hide the end underneath. Okay, and you see I still a nice and flexible edging, just to finish off, neaten up the edge of a scarf or whatever else you want to for. If you don't want a full border, then that works quite well.